Patolo Falava and welcome to Akwamata Tupu the podcast. Each episode, we catch up with educators dedicated to serving our young people across Aotearoa. I'm your host, Billy Revel, and today I'm blessed and honoured, excited to catch up with our guest, Tony Patolo.
Malole Soifua Bills, really good to see you. How you been, man? All good?
All good. I've been all good. Hey, so yeah, tell us a bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. So my name is Tony Patolo. I recently just become a dad. So I got a 3-month-old. She's driving in the car right now, waiting for the interview to finish. Married to a school teacher as well, Narissa. Basically, we were both teachers at one point. She teaches at out west at St. Dom's. So proud Samoan. My grandparents are from the villages of Awhenga, Lepa, Sinamonga, and Vaimoso. That's important, to us like Samoans, like where we're from and stuff. And yeah, I kind of work in education and different sector work.
I was really excited to catch up with you because like also, me and you have a connection, new to PIC, boys, born and bred, kind of brought up in that church and stuff like that. Of course. And, also got family links and stuff like that. So it's always great to see you. And like also you come from like your mum's a teacher and also netballer and kind of come from an education kind of background and stuff like that. But I guess like what drew you to kind of teaching?
Well, before I answer that one, your grandpa married my parents, so that's how we kind of we kind of know each other. The funny thing about teaching is I tried to not be a teacher. So my nana, before she passed away, because we were like one of those families, like we look after our nana. So she died when I was about 18. So that was in high school, year 13. So like our grandparents, both like they want us to do good at education. Yeah. So one thing that gave her a comfort was just she really wanted to know what I was doing after I finished school. I was kind of like, nah, lawyers too hard, doctors too hard. Okay, I'll be a teacher because I know I can get a BA and like go through there.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if I wanted to be a teacher. I just told my nana that I wanted to be a teacher. And pretty much like she goes, oh yeah, my grandson's going to training college. That's what they used to call it back in the day. So just hearing my nana kind of say like, oh yeah, he's going to training college, on her deathbed kind of gave her comfort. I didn't actually like wholeheartedly wanted to become a teacher, but I didn't mind if I had to become one. Because as you have said, my mum was a teacher at Auckland Girls for a long time. Pretty much the same time she was a Silver Fern back in the day. And then she rejoined the profession and worked at Eggs again and at Wesley. So I've always had like my biggest role model, a passionate teacher. And you sometimes when you're a child of a teacher, it kind of looks like a pathway that you want to take as well. So mum's been like one of the biggest influences to me, like wanting to become a teacher. Now all that stuff about, we need more Pasifika men and stuff. I didn't know that like, back at that time, but I was just like, I think that's a career that I can follow.
Yeah. Cool. And so like, what was it that sort of, how did you get the link into, was it a shoulder tap or? Man. I like, were you up at the UAV?
So how it went, so I went to Auckland Uni. So me wanting to become a teacher, I chose geography and Pacific studies, which is what we will talk about later today. And then when I got to the end of my studies, like, my first semester was like, I was like pretty much almost failing. And then my last one was like, I was starting to get A's, like in Pacific studies, and it kind of encouraged me to keep studying. I did the postgrad thing. I ended up doing my master's in PAC studies. And then opportunities started opening up when I started presenting. So I did my research on bullying.
Yeah.
So, after you do your master's, you kind of go on that tour and you present here, you present there. And a lot of people are really liking the message that I had around bullying, and we need to talk about it more as like, Pasifika people. We need to bring some of these experiences to light. When I did one of these presentations, someone at the med school wanted me to work for them, and someone at geography wanted me to work for them too. So I went from PAC studies to these different areas. I worked 2 years at the School of Med. The department is called Psychological Medicine, and it allowed me to go into like several schools and interview like young kids about mental health stuff. So when I got to the end of that job, I was like, I love this part of the job. I hate the admin part of the job. And then I thought to myself, maybe I should follow through on my promise to my nana. be a teacher, see where it leads to. And then, you know, we'll teach first. You can do it and get paid at the same time. So, you know, I had all these experiences. I didn't really want to start again. You know, when you're in between jobs and it's like you want to start again, but you don't want to like go down in salary and then, you know, make that financial sacrifice. And then on top of that, it was like the whole thing around social justice, you know, teaching kids the right way, addressing the inequities. That's what really like drew me in. So I did like a half application. And I think it was Hannah, like she was like, finish your application. We want you to like go through with it. And then when I got there on the day where like, you know, you get accepted and then you get a thing, it was you that picked me up because I was lost. I didn't know where the interview place was. It's like, Bills, come pick me up. And man, I just got in. So that's how I got into Teach First NZ.
Yeah. What do you think, like you touched on earlier that you didn't know that kind of the teaching profession needs lots more men, lots more Māori and Pacific men. What do you think is kind of, where do you think that comes from? Like, do you think for us there's like an added pressure of like where we have to go and like is there a view of teaching? Do you think?
I think we don't like there are male teachers Pasifika, but I think like growing up you kind of associate teaching being like, oh, you get to be like a brainiac to kind of do that job, and it's like more something that goes to like girls and stuff. But I think a lot of, even though like, you know, Pasifika, like males like kind of have that pride and stuff, I think they're quite like, because they can't see enough of it. So they like, it's like they don't really see it as an avenue like to keep pursuing. I didn't kind of notice it until like I kept going up in education, and then I started saying, where's all the boys at one day when I was doing my masters? But I also feel like if they had more role models, if they saw it as a viable like career, because you know you get your education, you can just go away from education and get a job and stuff. It would kind of entice more to do it.
Like in terms of, because you're no longer in the classroom, right?
Oh no.
Yeah. And I think like there's also this understanding that kind of lots of our really great teachers don't spend much time in the classroom because often they're kind of headhunted for other things in life. Like, what was your experience of that?
Man, it was kind of like, you know, when you tell people in retrospect, like, because I have nothing but like great things to say about my teaching career, but on the surface, if you look at the facts, it's like 3 years. The first thing my friends always say is, bro, you couldn't handle those naughty kids. That's why you left and got like another job. When in actuality, it was kind of like the things that I was doing within the classroom were starting to get noticed by organizations outside. Obviously, when you get married and you start a family, you start thinking like financially as well. Opportunities that impact young people are also outside of like the class. So as I was progressing as a teacher, like there were some opportunities I pretty much couldn't turn down. A lot of it had to do with my educational, achievements coming in, like being educated at master's level. Also with this like specialization in Pacific studies. And then it just made sense to make that transition and take a risk, like, you know, career-wise, to do something that I've always wanted to do. Now, with that being said, like, man, sometimes I wish, like, if I did that 4th year and the 5th year and the 6th year, like, I get kind of sad because I was like, man, I could have ended up like this. But no regrets, sometimes you gotta go to where you feel like you're called.
Yeah.
And that was more it. The kids were the best thing about the job.
Yeah.
Part of me wishes I could stay, but then also I'm lucky that I get to go into school still to do work. So
You, like, I think there's an opportunity here to also dispel some of those haters that say that you can't handle naughty kids. What do naughty kids kind of look like though?
Oh man, they can look like anything, man, because kids are tricky. Now, when I say naughty kids, I say it like with quotation marks. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, in a school setting, it's like you use the word naughty, and naughty kind of defines like kids who aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. When at the same time, like, you should also look like for kids that you want to think outside the box. Sometimes that looks like a naughty kid. Yeah. And sometimes your naughty kids might just be geniuses and you're just labeling them as naughty kids. They're just thinking outside the box. They're just trying to do things a little different. Or they might just be, you know, not listening to you. So that's why I always like look at kids like, I say quote unquote naughty because they might go off and become CEOs and millionaires. So I don't want to be, you know.
No, for sure. Is there, like now that you're a dad now, and congratulations as well, are you starting to kind of see young people a little bit differently as well? And like, What has that experience been like for you?
Man, I think before I had Mena, so she's my daughter. Like, because I didn't have any kids on my own. So when I do come across young people, whether it be in the research I was doing before I was teaching, whether I be teaching, like I always kind of played like an uncle, like pastoral role to them. And I always like, because they're the only kids in my life right now, like I make put their lives and their experiences like heard and, you know, them feel appreciated. I think now that I have my own child, it's kind of like, I'm glad that I chose to be like that with young people. Because now that I have my own, it's like, man, I finally have my own where I can, all the things I've kind of been practicing, it's all in this, you know, one child. And I just hope that it translates into being a great father so she can grow up. I think myself, I got to recognize my own privileges growing up in a 2-parent household with 2 stable jobs. You know, when you come across a lot of Pasifika kids who need like pastoral support and stuff, like, it's hard to relate to them because some of them got 1 parent, no parents. They're being raised by their grandma and stuff. So for me to relate to that person, it goes way beyond our ethnicity. You have to really get to know kids, and you have to give them the opportunity to like express themselves and to get to know them, so you know how to help them. And yeah,
I think that's a really important thing that you're touching on, just in terms of recognizing young people as not just the people, like you only get to see them six hours or the few hours that you have them in your classroom. Like, how do you think other areas or other jobs can wrap around our young people, around teachers? Like, what do you is there more support, do you think, that could be offered for Pasifika in the classroom, and like in and around? Like, do we need to engage more with grandparents? Do we need to think outside of the scope of just parents and things like that?
I think so. I think schools kind of cling to that, you know, the ideal family structure is nuclear, right? So for example, right, you're angry at your child, you call mum. Okay, mum doesn't have a mum, you call dad, doesn't have a dad, call grandpa, doesn't have a grandpa. Like, that's someone's reality, right? As much as we like to go, you know, every family should be 2 parents, like they should work it out and do what's best for the child. The reality is some of these kids, they're not asked to be put in like the positions that they were in. So I feel like in the day and age that we're in now, we need to be more innovative with how we, you know, pass instructions on to caregivers. We need to be more open-minded of different types of family structures. You know, some people might have 2 dads, 2 mums, or it might be something like quite different like that. And I think sometimes when that default nuclear family is not there, like, it's easy for teachers to kind of go, oh, don't bother with that family, right? And then what happens is that family don't bother engaging. And then that's why you get so many disconnected parents with teachers at times. Hey,
we're going to go to a section now that we like to call this or that, or heads or tails. Thank you to our producer, Mike, in the studio. So I'm going to give you 2 options.
Oh, man.
And you just have to quick fire, give me which one, heads or tails, this or that. Cool? Lunch in your department or lunch in the staff room?
Oh, we actually had some cool people in the staff room. Staff room,
nice. Drive to school or ride to school?
Oh, drive.
Android?
So I can choose the music.
No, got control of the music. Fair enough. Android or Apple?
Oh, man. Oh, well, Android does. Apple. Apple, yeah.
Cool. Who wins at sports challenges, staff or year 13s?
We lost to our year 13s and our year.
True.
Delete that. I don't want to delete that. We lost by 1 point. Last position. Our best player lost the ball. We had to teach period 5 and it was the worst class I've ever taught. We lost all authority over the class. Like, once we lost, like, that is like a political thing, eh? Like, if you win the student staff game, like, whoever wins, like, they control the school, and we lost.
You can't come back from that.
And it was hard.
They own you from there.
I couldn't come back from that.
Cool. Department snacks, chocolate or nuts?
Chocolate.
Warriors or All Blacks?
Oh, that's hard, eh? Well, both, but All Blacks.
All right. Basketball or netball?
Oh, basketball. Just because I grew up in a netball family, but I'll say basketball.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of threw that one in there just to give you a little bit of a challenge. Cool. This is our section, all good or not good. Okay? Yeah. So, I'll give you an example and you just tell me, is it all good? Or Now we need to.
Okay.
Not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Teachers wearing genders. All good, eh?
Nah, all good.
All good. Thank you. Thank you. Staff as well. Staff and anyone can wear genders any time of the year.
So,
it's all-terrain footwear.
Yeah, some cultures it's formal wear, so like gotta be
100%. Nice. I like how our producer put that one in there, and I'm wearing genders, man. All good, not good. Kahoot.
Oh, not good if you're relying on it all the time. All good if it's every now and then.
Yeah. So not too much.
Not too much.
It's kind of like one of those go-to things now. I feel like it's weaved its way into our culture where everyone knows what Kahoot is. Mobile phones in the classroom.
Not good.
Not good?
Yeah.
Do you think it's something that should be policed by the government?
I think for everyone who argues like why they should have phones in school, low key, they just want it so they can text, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Homework. I used to be no good, because kids are busy, but I also think all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting one, because my kids don't come home with homework from school anymore, and I know that there's some research out there somewhere that says that's not like it's not helpful to have homework, and
definitely.
I definitely agree. We have that whakatauki and stuff like that around. All learning not being done in the same classroom and stuff like that, and so I understand when there's things at home that we can engage with, but I wonder about how we can build those resources for whānau to engage with that with young people when they're at home and stuff like that as well.
I mean, for me, it's like, like we think of homework, extra work.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like not even work, like just go home, watch the news, like, and let's talk about it when we come class, or think about this as you, like,
Yeah.
They could just be things that kind of help stimulate their minds until the next lesson. It doesn't have to be like full on doing 20 like of these. It's just like, that's what I mean by that.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like, even I'll ask my daughter, like, where's your reading book? But then like, where's my responsibility to also provide things for them to read or engage with in that way as well?
Yeah.
And I guess there are other literacies, but I'm not teaching my daughters how to siva every other day.
Of course.
And even our language is kind of gone. What do you think is where's the balance between our life at home and life at school, and who holds?
I would like to think, like, 'cause there's so much pressure on the kids to do a lot of things. I reckon if somehow we could kind of make reading feel organic, like we try to make reading look cool so they do it themselves, that type of thing. Or like, because I feel like it's not that we want kids to read, it's we want them to develop the desire to read. Because we put a book in front of you have to read for 30 minutes, and then like for the rest of their life, they don't have to do it. They don't have to do it anymore. But if they could find something they like to read, then maybe later on in life, they're like, I want to buy books as well as doing other things as well. Yeah. I think reading at a young age too helps too.
Yeah. One of the things I like to do with my daughters when we're in the car, and, I'll say, I can see the word warehouse.
Yeah.
And she's got to look around and try to identify the words and stuff like that. So I agree. There's lots of different ways that you can kind of integrate that with. And where is it important? I think that's the other question.
Exactly.
Because sometimes we're like, then, I've read maybe 3 books.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's a lie. But like in the almost 20 years away from school now.
Yeah. Hey, the Bible counts as 1-4.
I haven't read that for a long time. But like I've read maybe, like in terms of sometimes it's hard to understand the tangibility of the things that we're taught in the classrooms. But I think that's a nice segue into our next kind of topic and exploring Pacific studies and why you wanted to do that as a project and bring that into schools and things.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So like Pacific studies, I always think like it was something that you did at university.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like what was the transition, or what was your idea to bring that into schools?
So before I answer that question, so Pacific studies, it was like a university. It's known as a university thing. Pacific studies has actually been in our education system, secondary school level, for the last 2 decades. It's just that it's been in form of a unit standard. Yeah. So you know what unit standards and achievement standards are.
Yeah, but I think it's good to explain.
So one pretty much is like, you can get achieve merit excellence and it leads to like, the next thing. Whereas like a unit standard is kind of like a pass or fail.
Yeah.
So the original purpose of a unit standard was to try to get kids into trades and stuff like that. They just need to learn skills. They can prove they can tick off those competencies and then they get onto the next thing.
Yeah.
So the problem is over time is like there's become like the stigma around unit standards. It's just like the subjects that you get your not smart kids to do.
Yeah.
So they can pass their paper, but not get the university entrance stuff that the achievement standards.
Or give them credits for the other things that they're doing,
exactly,
like Polyfest or
exactly. So when you ask the question like, oh yeah, it's this new subject that's coming in, it has to be addressed that it has been there, but it's kind of problematically existed there for a long time, and no one's kind of done anything about it to change it up until recently.
Yeah. How have you been working to kind of shift that idea?
So as a teacher, I was part of, well, I guess you can say in a literal sense, I was kind of part of that problem teaching that unit standard. The standards that I had growing up, doing achievement standards and university entrance, I kind of had to transform my thinking around it when I was teaching it.
Yeah.
So when I was a teacher at One Tree Hill, miraculously, my master's qualification lined up with a PEC studies class at school level, and I was so excited to take it.
Yeah.
I knew like because it was a unit standard, it will probably come with like some challenges in terms of what we're teaching the kids. Like, is it like the real PEC studies, or is this like an easy social studies paper for brown kids so they can pass it?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it kind of was, and it's no fault of the teachers at One Tree Hill. It's just that, we get given things from the ministry and NZQA. We just trust it. Like, professionals have made it, they've delivered it, you teach it.
Yeah.
But that was like what needed to be addressed. Teachers can only teach what they've been given.
Yeah.
So I had that challenge of taking up the PEC studies at the school. For me, it's not just about credits. It's also about creating a space for our young people where they feel appreciated, where they feel intelligent, where they don't feel like they're in their dumb class, where they can be themselves, where they can learn things that are relevant, where they can learn things that they might not have learned anywhere else.
Yeah.
So my intention in that 3 years I was at One Tree Hill, like I just made that my focus. Okay, I know I'm giving them unit standard credits, but we're going to make it an experience anyway. So I get there, teach it for 3 years, more or less become the curriculum leader of it. My first year, going into the next year, the enrollment, like it shoots up by quite a lot. So we end up getting another teacher to help me teach it. It's my friend Megan, who teaches at another school. She was awesome. And then the year next, like we reach max numbers. And then if I stayed for a fourth year, we probably would have needed to get like a third teacher. So, there's the stigma around it versus the growing numbers. Like, the kids are buying into some, I don't know what it is exactly they liked about the class.
Yeah.
But they liked it in big numbers. It became popular. And bro, like, and this is not like, comparing, but like, or it is comparing, like there were more kids in our PEC studies class than there were in the mainstream, history and geo classes.
Yeah.
So like when you do something like that, it's like, because it's on a stat sheet, right? It's not just me like coming in. My classes are amazing and there's like 5 people there. Because our attendance and our cohort is growing, like there's something there.
Yeah.
And I believe it's because I focused on making like the classes that way, as well as my colleague Megan, who did the same in her classes.
Yeah.
So that told me that it's a subject worth looking into, developing, and doing properly.
Yeah. Like it's also, we talk about lots of different pedagogy and stuff within the program.
Yep.
Especially with Māori and Pacific and like the content that we bring.
Yep.
Like I maybe have some assumptions around PEC studies of, sometimes we think those are the things that are easy because those are the things that we understand best. Like that, I think we need to flip that thinking sometimes. Like school should be that easy place.
Yep.
Right. I think the fact that some people see, or some young people see PEC studies as an easy class because it's something more accessible to them.
Yeah.
Clearly shows us that there's something wrong with how the rest of school is.
Yep.
And I think would you agree with that sentiment? And
of course.
And like, how do you think we can bring that into and across more of our school structures and things like that?
I think for me, and this is probably something myself, you, and just like, I guess, I wouldn't say older, we're not that old, but older people experience to have of school is where you have an assembly and it's the same 10 students getting the awards over and over again.
Yeah.
And the other 90 people in the hall just had to watch it all the time, which is all good. They might be really brainy and stuff, but it comes down to the notion of school should be looking at more than one level of intelligence. And I think historically people have only prioritized like certain subjects, certain classes, as worthwhile as like for like achievements and stuff like that. And I think that kind of thinking has kind of seeped into like today's generation. Like no one would like, how come like, doing science is better than doing, another subject like Pacific studies? And partly it's because, society has its way of valuing each subject. With me saying that PEC studies has been there for 20 years, but no one has done it kind of justice. Our own people need to go into their subject and make it great for our kids. I know within that 3 years that I was there, like we just had to use it and try to decorate it as much as we can. There's only so much you can do. But you need people that are passionate about it to be in there to keep it alive, or else it's just going to die off and be boring. So
Yeah.
I think that's important, like for like a subject like Pacific Studies.
Yeah. And you've been working to kind of build the curriculum around
Yeah,
it?
man. So after leaving One Tree Hill, I helped the University of Auckland redesign their level 1 paper. So that's Pacific Studies 100. That's our biggest paper. So that's crack up. You go from like a high school and like, your HOD just lets you do anything. She's like, Tony, you're doing great. Just go do the PEC studies thing. And then you go to like a university setting. There's like a serious professor like saying, okay, like we need to like engage our young people more. Like watch some of your ideas. So one opportunity led to another, and then MOE get in touch, like being a part of like different panels to actually be a part of that process where we're changing it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I don't do one thing in there. I'm kind of in different. I'm kind of at different tables. Being a part of like the process.
Yeah. And how have you found that?
Bro, it's cool. It's like my dream job, man. Like, because when I first started teaching, when the principal sat me down and he told me what the reality of the subject is, one of the things we agreed on was like, we'll help grow it. And in my mind back then, like my thinking was we're going to grow it to achievement standard. And I thought like in that 5 years, I was going to be a teacher at that school and then I was going to teach it at that school. But then somewhere along the line, it made more sense to kind of go straight to that department and work there as much as you can and try to, be across different sectors and that.
So in the next 5 years, what do you think needs to happen to improve the delivery of PEC studies?
I think we absolutely have to be ahead in our thinking. I think sometimes with the way that education works is like, because everything is evidence-based, it takes time to get evidence, right? And sometimes with us, like Pasifika people, we know of anecdotal, we know of gut feelings already, but like there's been times where like a year ago I said, without any evidence, I go, if we don't think about this, then what's going to happen down the line is this is going to happen. Someone comes up to me and they go, oh, where's your evidence of it? A year goes back, the thing happens and we can't progress any further because we hadn't been thinking about it. And like, so where's evidence-based versus your gut feeling based on your past experiences? Yeah. And that happens a lot in education. And that's why things take so long, because like, we got to stop everything and do a survey to check if we can go forward, right? When you can see that the forward is there and like you can go, like if you have the courage and heart to go do it. Like the problem with our education system is we use old things when we're trying to, we use the old thinking to try to come up with new ideas. And that's why it's so slow.
Yeah. Do you think that's also like one of the literacies that we have as Pasifika people as well, in terms of, we have that thing around navigation.
Yeah.
And while, all of those things are learnt and we know how to do those things, but it's about feeling the currents and kind of knowing where we're at and where we're going.
Exactly. And I feel sometimes other people know that, but they kind of box that kind of skill set and, all of a sudden they like, there's an expectation of what you should be like as a Pacific Islander, right? You're just the metaphor guy or the relationship building guy or the guy with the jokes. You can be that guy, but you can also be the guy that has ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes when you're in professional workspaces, people are so used to like, they're comfortable when like people like myself come along, oh, here's a nice guy to work with. He's non-threatening and stuff. He's there like, for banter and all that stuff. but you also got to be a part of like what they're doing too. So I'm not just there to answer cultural questions. I'm here for operational stuff, for the day-to-day stuff. And I think that's what needs to happen more.
Do you still struggle to kind of get into those areas or be acknowledged for the worth that you bring to that space?
That's a good one. That second one, I feel like I cared about it heaps when I was like 20. When I got to like 25, I kind of got a gist of this might be the norm, not being appreciated for what you do.
Yeah.
Now that I'm in my 30s, bro, I don't care. Because it always changes when you grow up. You will end up, if it's meant for you, you'll always end up impressing the people that you've wanted to impress all the time.
Yeah.
But then what will happen is there will be another group of people that are you're gonna prove yourself to, and then another group of people that you gotta prove yourself to. So I've learned to be content in the actual process of making something work. So this pack studies thing, like I am happy right now that I get to be a part of it. I'm not waiting for New Zealander of the Year, or I'm not waiting for like some accolade that kind of acknowledges me, because the richness and the reward is in the work where you get to serve people and when you're in a place that you're passionate. I've learned kind of when I was younger, I was like, I want to get to like a CEO position. I want to get to this position. But I feel like if you can find happiness in what you're doing in the meantime, that will take care of itself.
Yeah.
But if you get there and you don't have that, you'll be unhappy. So I've learned that.
I agree. Yeah, it's so interesting. When you come across people in leadership who have always just wanted to be leaders, and then you come across people in leadership who are just doing the service part, and through that service coming into leadership. My wonder is, do you think they have equal value? And do you think, what I mean? Because quite often I find in those structures, there's sometimes I worry that we give too much of ourselves and it's not expected of the other side and things like that. Do you think people are more coming to the table on these things?
I feel like for a lot of, this kind of answers your question. Especially when we're young and we get into these roles, I feel like there's a lot of things that people learn too late. So when you're young and then you get those opportunities where you get to the boardroom and you're sitting at the table, I think sometimes we get happy that we're at the table, and then the meeting starts, and then you stay quiet up until the last thing on the agenda, and then you don't feel like you've actually contributed to something. And then it takes you about 3 meetings to finally realize, actually, I need to talk in the meetings and stuff. And then we're kind of behind the 8 ball in that. So I don't know. That's my kind of thoughts on that. If we knew things when we started, things would be kind of different.
Yeah, cool. And I think we're gonna shift that scale.
Yeah.
As we go and as we learn more about our values as Pasifika and in the workplace and things like that.
And it is those values, because we respect what's the word? Positions of authority so much. There's sometimes when we do kind of offer it, it kind of feels awkward. If I talk in a meeting and there's professors there, and you start thinking, oh, maybe they might think I'm overstepping, but they actually want you to, or sometimes you had to just put yourself in there, feel uncomfortable until it feels comfortable. So
cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, all good.
And also just thank you for your leadership in that space and the service that you're giving, and the more that you're talking about these things, I can see your heart for the work and our young people and our people in general. And so I'm excited to see kind of the things coming up with that stuff. And we'll touch on kind of next steps for Tony soon. But before that, let's break things up a little bit. And I wanted to ask, do you have any funny stories from school?
Oh man, Bills, when I saw the question on the email, the one I have in mind, I was almost going to tell it, but I'll get people in trouble.
Oh yeah,
it's so funny. I wish I could tell it, but I can share funny moments that I had in class. So there was one time we had a real naughty boy. Again, I say it with quotation marks. I say naughty boy, but low key he was one of my favorites. Oh, we shouldn't have favorites.
No favorites.
No favorites. I love all the children equally. Anyway, he was playing up. He was not doing any of the schoolwork, but he was first scene. He was what's it called? Doing the play. What's it called? School production. He was one of the most popular kids in school. And he was just he was successfully wagging every single class, and no teacher could get him. He he was there for 5 months, and but hey, like he'll like run away and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I finally catch him and I corner him into my class. I go, you've been running away like the whole time. Like you need to come. We need to sort this out. So then we're talking, and then like he tries to like lie and stuff and say, oh no, I'm all good. I'm doing it at home and stuff. And then so this is me, like I'm like yelling at him and stuff. And then I could see like the man starts starting to cry, and like I'm angry at him. And then I'm like he's like kind of like in this real ugly face. He's like, oh, true, like. And then like I could see that he like he was trying his best to like cry. So me being angry at him, bro, I had to like pretend I was crying. So I was like, oh, yeah, all good, bro. So I was covering my face, pretending I was like crying real deep. And the man starts crying like so hard. Eh?
Yeah.
And here I am like fake crying. And then I look at him and I see his tears, and then I start crying for real. And then the man gives me the backstory all the way from like why he started skipping class and that. And then I hugged him, and like it was just this because I was a new teacher then too, and I thought it was quite crack up that like ever since then like I've been like number one, guys, it's all right to cry like from day one. So we don't have any moments like that like anymore.
Yeah.
So like no, like it's just kind of changed the way that I've presented myself in front of kids. Especially young men.
Yeah.
So when I do my workshops nowadays, man, we spend like 5 minutes like lining up, like the she's not your rehab thing. I just make the boys stare at each other.
Yeah.
And the boys are always like, oh sir, that's like, say whatever word. But I do a lot of stuff that like kind of looks funny, and then I try to normalize it.
Yeah.
Like because of that guy, like just seeing that has an inability to cry until he saw like an older guy do it. But I wasn't even crying like for real. Like it made him finally let go of those tears, and yeah,
for sure. Like, yeah, it's really interesting. Like our inability sometimes to show vulnerability,
man,
and the power that it has to show that vulnerability.
But it was like while you said that, Bills, like the best thing about teaching Pacific Studies was seeing the students. Sorry, they'll hate if I call them children. Is when they start showing that vulnerability. Remember, a lot of these kids, like no one's given them a chance. So the reason why they might act up is because their guards are up and they're trying to hide it from you. But then once you kind of gain their trust and then, vulnerability, like they see it as a strength because you're role modeling it. By the time you get them to share stuff, it's more genuine. So when I do presentations with the students like they all of a sudden they want to talk about things that are important, like domestic violence. They want to talk about stuff like abuse, and they're not scared to share it in the class. You know how hard it is for teenagers these days to share things with their peers.
Yeah,
and then in my PAC studies class, because that's such an important thing, like they want to share with their vulnerabilities with their peers, and that was the best part about working there. Oh, just off the tangent, that's just one thing I was thinking about.
Yeah, mean. We got into some deep stuff.
Yeah.
I was looking for the funny part.
Oh, true, same.
No,
but you know what, man? Sometimes it starts off funny, and then when you really look at it, it's like, bro, that's actually quite sad.
It's quite,
There's heaps of moments like that, man. It starts off like this funny, like behind the humor, and it gets like dark, and you're like, oh, yeah.
I think there's also how we deal with things as well, right? Like we just have to laugh it off, have a laugh at ourselves and things like that as well. It's bread for dinner. Oh good, sweet. One of the things sometimes we talk about on the podcast is 'cause we get into some nostalgia. So I wanted to kind of throw it back.
Yeah.
In my days at Newton Central Primary School.
Yep.
My mum used to go hard out on my lunchbox. Maybe because she didn't have a good lunchbox when she went to school. But I had the roll-ups.
Oh, man.
And the little, the yogurts with it has like different dips and stuff like that.
That's
right. But what was your go-to?
You're reeking of privilege here, mate.
I am.
Straight up, Waikofa Intermediate, 2001, before the healthy eating came in and ruined our schools. Now, kidding. Chicken burger, licorice, cookie time.
Yo.
That's every single day.
Yeah.
I loved it, man. Like,
black or red licorice?
Oh, man, red.
Oh, yeah. Not the black stuff.
Yeah. Like, I know people like have that taste, but man.
Yo.
Simple palate, eh?
Nice. Cool. So what's kind of like on the cards next for you, yourself, your whānau? Kind of like where you're moving?
Man, I think I've always been someone who thinks 5 years down. the track. I think that's probably the first time in my life, just especially with having my baby, I just think on what's happening next week.
Yeah.
If I was to answer that question, like I want to be one of those cool dads that have a great relationship with their daughter. Hopefully, maybe if it's on the cards to have another child. I really want to be in a place where my work is helping younger professionals in the sectors that I work in.
Yeah.
So when I come across a lot of, like I was saying before, I feel like I would have progressed so much faster if like some cool old guy like myself said, bro, when you go to a meeting, like, you know, don't let 20 minutes go by before saying something. Like, you know, someone give you advice like that.
Yeah.
Or else people won't respect you as much as, you know.
Yeah.
Like if someone gave me a little bit of advice, like my career could have, like, you know, gone a bit faster.
Yeah.
I want to be in a position where I'm helping like young professionals just kill it in their workplace. Because I feel like the trajectory that I'm on now, it looks like I'm going to be quite successful.
Yeah.
But I've learned, man, especially with a lot of people that I've come across, is I don't want to gatekeep. Like, I don't want to just be like that successful brown guy and like, you know, oh, look at me, I'm like cool and stuff. I kind of want to just open the door for more people to come through and kill it and go way past me. That's what I tell all my students. Like, I want you to, one, like, you know, earn more money than me so you can shout me when I see you and you're more successful, and just go forth and be amazing.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do for work.
Yeah.
What that looks like in terms of a job, I don't know exactly what that looks like in terms of a job, but that's what I want to do.
Cool. Sounds good. Some kind of like mentoring, coaching and stuff like that.
Yeah. And, you know, like when you do stuff like that, you got more time to hang out with your kids. So, you know, there's that.
Nice. I mean, it's all kind of like goes in full circles and stuff like that as well. Like this, the things you're talking about for our young people coming out of schools, transitioning into where we were maybe like only a few years ago. We're not that old, Tony.
Yeah, no, not that old. Not yet, man.
But we have that same wish for our kids, right? Like we, you know, you know, my daughter sometimes talks to me about asking me if I was reading as good as she is now, you know, and I'm just like, man, I want you to be, you know what I mean? Like that's the aim, that's the goal, is for you to be better in every which way and things like that. So, you know, of course, it's a very Tony thing, I think, to talk about. That's what you want for other people and stuff like that. And I really appreciate that. We're coming to the end of our journey. Malanga here on this wonderful table, these cool mics.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw it out there. If there was anything that you could, a message for our young people, like could be simple, could be read a book, you know. But what do you think is an important message for our young people to hear?
The generation that we kind of have now, it's so easy to look around. It's so easy to look on your phone, you know, what success looks like. And sometimes it can discourage people from trying. So my message for young people would be, don't give up, keep trying. You might not find your dream job straight away, or you might find it straight away. You might have to fail a few times before you find success, but you got to keep trying. You got to keep trying your best. And that's probably one of the only ways you don't have regrets. Yeah. So you might try your best, you might fail, but then at the very least, you can go home, look in the mirror and say, I gave it my best, I failed at this, maybe I should try something else. That's way better than half trying something, not knowing that you probably could have succeeded in it, and then trying something else like way too early. So whatever you find, like try to find something that you're passionate in. Passion doesn't always pay your bills, so try get a job and do your passion at the same time until one day your work becomes your passion. But yeah, it's trial and error. There's no kind of one way to succeed. You got to kind of find it out yourself. Everyone's got different kind of stories to success. So, you know, my little ramble there is somewhere in there is my advice to young people.
Nah, cool. Thank you so much. Yeah. And it's been awesome catching up with you.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for having us, man.
Looking forward to seeing what comes next.
Oh, thanks, Bills, man.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it, man.
Cool. I remember you shared
what's this?
Nah, like your message at the end was mean.
Yeah.
Like I remember you shared kind of similar at Summer Intensive. When you were talking
true.
About
that was ages ago.
You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Oh, I probably said something like that.
Some basketball.
Some basketball thing. Yeah, I mean.
Nah, cool. Sweet.